Welcome to the tale of the Midnight Man, where bravery meets pure terror. This is not just a story, but a chilling legend that has been whispered through generations, a tale that has sent shivers down the spines of those who dare to listen. The Midnight Man is not just a figment of imagination, he is a manifestation of our deepest fears, a shadow that lurks in the darkest corners of our minds. So, gather your courage, for what you are about to hear is not for the faint of heart. Ready to hear what happened? This story begins in a small, isolated town, a place where everyone knew each other and secrets were hard to keep. But some secrets are darker than others, and this town held one of the darkest. It was a place where the line between reality and the supernatural was blurred, where the whispers of the past echoed through the empty streets at night. In this small, isolated town, nestled between dense forests and rolling hills, life moved at a slower pace. The townsfolk were simple, hard-working people, but they were also deeply superstitious. They believed in the old legends, the stories passed down from their ancestors, and none was more feared than the legend of the Midnight Man. If you dared, you could summon the Midnight Man. It was said that he could be called upon through a ritual, a dangerous game that no one in their right mind would play. But as with all legends, there were always those who were curious, those who wanted to test the boundaries of the unknown. And so, one fateful night, a group of friends decided to do just that. At midnight, a group of friends gathered in an abandoned house, a place that had long been rumored to be haunted. The house stood on the outskirts of town, its windows shattered and its walls covered in ivy. It was the perfect setting for their daring adventure. They had heard the stories, but they didn't believe them. They thought it was all just a game, a way to scare each other and have some fun. Giggling nervously, they pricked their fingers and lit their candles. The ritual required a drop of blood, a symbol of their commitment to the game. As the candles flickered to life, casting eerie shadows on the walls, the atmosphere grew tense. They could feel the weight of the legend pressing down on them. But they pushed their fears aside, determined to see it through. Sarah, the skeptic, rolled her eyes. Nothing's happening. She was the one who had always questioned the stories, the one who believed that there was a logical explanation for everything. But even she couldn't deny the strange feeling that had settled over the room. It was as if the house itself was watching them, waiting for something to happen. But the air grew cold, and a gust snuffed out their candles. The sudden darkness was suffocating, and they could feel the temperature drop even further. It was as if the very essence of the Midnight Man had entered the room, bringing with it a chill that seeped into their bones. They huddled together, their breaths visible in the cold air, their hearts pounding in their chests. Darkness pressed in, and a whisper echoed. "You called for me." The voice was barely audible, a faint whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was a voice that sent shivers down their spines, a voice that carried with it the weight of centuries of fear and dread. They could feel the presence of the Midnight Man, lurking in the shadows, watching them with unseen eyes. Panic set in, but Sarah stood her ground. She refused to let her fear control her, determined to prove that it was all just a game. But even she couldn't ignore the growing sense of dread that filled the room. She could feel the eyes of the Midnight Man on her, could hear his whispers growing louder, more insistent. As the clock ticked closer to 1 a.m., shadows danced and whispers grew louder. The minutes seemed to stretch into eternity, each tick of the clock a reminder of the passing time. The shadows on the walls seemed to come alive, twisting and writhing as if they were trying to break free. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, filling the room with a cacophony of voices. A thump from above. Fear gripped them. The sound was sudden and loud, a heavy thump that echoed through the house. It was as if something had fallen or someone had taken a step. The friends looked at each other, their faces pale with fear. They knew that they were not alone, that the Midnight Man was with them, watching, waiting. Sarah scoffed. "It's just a game." She tried to sound confident, but her voice wavered. She could feel the fear creeping in, could feel the presence of the Midnight Man growing stronger. She knew that they had crossed a line, that they had summoned something that they couldn't control. But she refused to give in to her fear, determined to see the game through to the end. The temperature dropped, her candle flickered, then darkness fell. The room was plunged into darkness once again, the cold seeping into their bones. They could feel the presence of the Midnight Man, could hear his whispers growing louder, more insistent. They knew that they were running out of time, that they had to find a way to end the game before it was too late. Whispers turned to screams. "Join us!" The whispers grew louder, turning into screams that echoed through the house. The friends could feel the presence of the Midnight Man growing stronger, could feel his cold breath on their necks. They knew that they had to find a way to end the game, but they didn't know how. They were trapped, caught in a nightmare that they couldn't escape. A cold breath on her neck, a dark figure behind her. "Please, no." And then nothing but black. Sarah vanished. The friends could only watch in horror as Sarah was taken, her screams echoing through the house. They knew that they had to find a way to end the game, but they didn't know how. They were trapped, caught in a nightmare that they couldn't escape. Days turned to weeks, she was never found. The friends searched for her, but there was no trace of Sarah. She had vanished without a trace, taken by the Midnight Man. The town was in shock, unable to believe that such a thing could happen. But the legend of the Midnight Man was real, and it had claimed another victim. Every October, midnight whispers remind the friends of the game gone horribly wrong. The friends could never forget what had happened, the memory of that night haunting them for the rest of their lives. They could hear the whispers of the Midnight Man, reminding them of the game that had gone horribly wrong. They knew that they had to live with the guilt, knowing that they had summoned the Midnight Man and lost a friend in the process. And in that old house, the Midnight Man waits, hungry for the next brave soul. The house stood as a reminder of the legend, a place where the Midnight Man waited for his next victim. The townsfolk knew to stay away, but there were always those who were curious, those who wanted to test the boundaries of the unknown. And so, the legend of the Midnight Man lived on, a chilling reminder of the dangers of playing with the supernatural.